Hey guys, this is Brian, and this weekend I had the pleasure of talking with Shorting Knight, who is a prop trader for 7 Points Capital in Fort Lauderdale. And while I was talking to him, just as a casual conversation, we kind of just went on and on and on, and I started to realize that what he was saying really resonated with me, and I feel like it would resonate with you guys as well. And I kind of joked with him that I wish we just did a podcast instead. However, it was already too late, and luckily I had jotted some notes down. So while it might not capture the entire experience that I had with him, hopefully a couple of nuggets work for you and help you understand what it takes to work towards being a professional trader. Okay, before we get into it, just check out the disclaimer. I realized I should probably put this down there um, in the videos just because I'm not a licensed professional. This is just for informational purposes, not even that, maybe entertainment. Okay, just let's move on. Okay, so about Shorting Knight. Shorting Knight goes by the name Introspective Trader on Twitter, and we'll go ahead and figure out more about that later on. But just to begin, Shorting Knight, I have his name, but I didn't ask him if I could release it. He did agree to me making a bit of content and just sharing with you guys, so that is totally out there. But yeah, I'm just gonna call him Shorting Knight from now on. Um, he started out just like the rest of us. He was buying education, expensive education, and it didn't really seem to help him very much. He kind of went through that process as we all do, and eventually went to the short side, which he calls the dark side. Because instead of buying what the chat rooms were telling him, he actually reversed the process and went short on those alerts. And while doing that, he was actually beginning to be a little bit profitable. When he mentioned to the guru that, hey, I'm going short on all your alerts and it's working, he got blocked and kicked out of the program. Um, he actually ended up blowing up 3 accounts, and I'm not sure if that was before or after he became profitable, but that is something important to know because, in his own words, it actually takes that kind of experience to mold a trader. And I think that that's one of the questions that comes up when you join a prop firm, is that they're going to ask you if you have any experience being humbled, blowing up your account. And that does help you understand from a risk management perspective what the game is actually all about. Like I said earlier, Shorting Knight is a prop trader with 7 Points Capital, Fort Lauderdale in Florida. And so that means he is working in the office with some of the more popular traders. And there's a lot of traders as well, but probably the 2 traders that come to my mind would be Krishna and Stan Glusman. And for him, those were 2 really big influences. Um, he went on to tell me about his experience trading with Firm Capital, and he actually told me that he was quite the risk taker before he joined the firm, which is usually the opposite for people. I asked him, if you join a prop firm, don't you feel like maybe because it's not your capital, you could risk more and tolerate more? And he actually had the opposite experience where he was more risk averse with their money because he just didn't want to lose it because it wasn't his. And even though a lot of traders around him were telling him, hey, size up, it's just a number, it's just a number, he still is working on sizing up and getting on the same level as some of the traders who are actually, way, way, way more into their journey than he is. And he liked to put it like, maybe if he's on chapter 20 of his journey, some of these other traders are at chapter 300 and everything in between. So he likes to think of it as his own journey, and for that reason he is still, he's very similar to one of us. He's not officially made it, he hasn't reached his goals, but he's working on it, and he's in an environment where he can actually do that and ask some of the best traders what they think. Okay, so his personality is, he's an open book, self-described. He is forward thinking, he's focused, he likes to, there's plenty of opportunities for him to say, hey, if I want to settle for less, I can go ahead and work an office job and be quite successful. But he's thinking in terms of, as a trader, what are the potential outcomes of this, and if I really put my mind to it, I'll probably be a lot more successful than if I just settled for less. He's very focused on improving his game, and we're going to go ahead and talk about that more when we get into some of his early trading experiences. Now, he's also very, very humble, and he mentioned that if I did bring up anything about what he said, that he would like to shout out Krishna, Binder, and Stan, as well as many more traders, for just being such big influences on his trading. And he basically says that he is who he is today because of the traders that he talks to. And I'm sure everyone in 7 Points Capital, ton of great traders. I don't want to leave anybody out, but of course there's too many to name, but of course Cats and all that. But he really, really wanted to mention some of these traders because obviously being in the Florida office, Krishna and Stan are head traders at that desk. So he has more interactions with them on a daily basis. The trading journey. So for shorting night, he actually confirmed a lot of the beliefs that I had. And after talking to him, I actually went back and watched one of the videos I did produce in my second year called The Trading Journey, My Perspective. And I feel that now reflecting on it, a lot of those things that I did say were really, really important and still remain important today. In fact, I actually really, really recommend watching that video. So if you want to go check that out, the link will be in the description. Essentially, I really felt at the time that there were steps to trading. And I think in that video, the thing that I wanted to get across the most is that I think it really, really takes 2 years to actually understand the game that you're playing and kind of get it. Like, that was the moment where I kind of understood what I got myself into and what I need to do to perform and to be successful. And I think a lot of traders feel that they can rush the process or that they can skip ahead of the curve. But at the end of the day, it does take experience. And even though you're going to be grinding really, really hard in your first years or so, it still comes down to the fact that the market opens Monday through Friday, closes on the weekend, and you got to just get back up and do it again. You cannot rush the market, especially in equities, because of this time constraint. It also just takes time to internalize some of the things. So I want to go ahead and talk about what Shorting Night told me. So during his first year, he believes it's all about the grind. In the first year, he was working from first in the office, last one out, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. EST. So he's up before the market even opens, and he's there way beyond when it closes. Then, even when he gets home to relax, he's still considering his watch list and creating it for the next day. So he might be up until 12 a.m. This means that he was working for 16 to 18 hours for an entire year without even making a dime. And that's really similar to a lot of our experiences as well. What I like to say is that if you say, hey, I've been trading for 3 years, if you weren't putting in, the insane amount of hours that somebody like Shorting Night would be putting in, he might have passed you up somewhere in between or even earlier. So time itself is not the biggest factor. It's more about how much hours are you actually putting in each day, how efficient are you being at your grinding, are you looking at the right things? You might waste your entire year just looking at nothing. All right. And so in the second year, he says that's when you begin to see the setups, know what you need to trade, not really have to think about studying all the basics, and just all the work that you've done to that point starts to materialize a little bit, but you're still not exactly there. And once you're in the third year, he said this is the time where you now should be starting to see the fruits of your labor. And as I am becoming my third year full-time trader myself at this time, I definitely agree, because in my second year, even though I was profitable, even though I had setups, even though I was consistent, I was still not able to actually live like completely from my trading. I still needed help. And nowadays, like within the first couple months of this year already, I've made it the entire year and more, maybe even double at this point. So it really comes down to like grinding it out, knowing where you are in the process, sticking with it, and then starting to figure out like where, like when you can start to just hit it off. And like I didn't expect to do as well as I did this year. It just kind of came to me, and I know that of course there was coronavirus and all that heating up the markets, but I truly believe that around this time was when I started to realize that I had it down, because up until this point I was constantly feeling like I need to study something. And the second year, I was constantly making adaptations to my strategy, to my system, like not in a healthy way, as in like, oh, okay, I'm improving a mistake, but more like, oh, there's something really wrong with this that I didn't understand, or that there's something I can really dramatically improve here. And so that entire year, even though it was really consistent, profitable, going up, making good money, it was still a matter of my system wasn't necessarily complete. Whereas in my third year, I hit my goal of my target risk per trade. I actually was able to freeze my progress at that point, because I wanted to make sure that I was getting used to the money that I was risking and the money I was taking in, and just focus on wiring out, pulling out the funds, and really building my consistency. And I actually haven't had to change my strategy or my setup or my position sizing or anything like really critical in my system for about 5 months now, and it's been very, very consistent. So I just kind of feel that now's the breakout point for me to just take it to the next level. And what is the next level? So he says that once you're beyond this point where you're starting to see the fruits of your labor, then it all becomes about the nuances. It becomes about the things that, you know, maybe you heard it a year ago. Maybe someone who you look up to said something, but it didn't really resonate with you at the time. Once you start getting to that point, he said that he started to notice, hey, like the thing that Stan told me a couple months ago, I'm starting to see like, oh, now I get it. And then he would do another thing and say, oh wait, now I understand the thing that he told me and the last thing that he told me were actually combined. You know, they were part of the same puzzle piece. And then the third piece comes on, and he just said that he started to realize more and more and more what they were telling him. And he just, you know, because he really respects them, he just kept it and kept thinking about it, and that helped him. And he's also saying that, you know, the traders that stick around on the desk, the ones that keep going, the ones that have long careers, are the ones that are always working on themselves and grinding. So it doesn't really end. It's just like now you're able to focus on the little edges that you can really, you know, iron out. And that could not be any more true from my experience as well. Right now, I'm starting to realize that, you know, I did a great job before sticking to my risk, sticking to my price targets, being very, very disciplined about never taking a trade-off before my plan. And now I'm learning that in my third year, it's important that I manipulate some of my statistics in like small ways. Like I mentioned in my blog, the latest blog I wrote, which I'll link down below, part 3 of my journey, is that now I'm reducing the average loss that I'm taking, which has a really profound impact on my average winners and being even more profitable. So my win rates actually declined. However, now my losses are just way, way smaller. I mean, I might be taking 0.5 R, 0.75 R instead of 1 R, and that has reduced my average loser quite a bit. So now, like, let's say that you were a 3-to-1 trader where you always lose 1 every trade. Now I'm finding that because I'm losing 0.7 R per trade, I can actually reap more out of the trade. I'm more than a 3-to-1 trader, significantly better. And if you do that consistently, like, that's a huge impact on your trading, as well as, you know, being able to identify, hey, I'm gonna size into this setup because this is one of my favorites. And so when I identify A+ setups, now I'm able to go in bigger, knowing that I have the edge behind me, or the statistics, or just my own, you know, personal experience behind it. And that also pushes the boundaries even further. And so I could recover massive losses now with that one big win, or I can account for even more, so to speak, tries in the future, or like, I have more attempts at the game because that one big winner might be 4, 5, 6 extra losses that I could take. Not thinking about it that way, of course, but in terms of profitability, it would be very difficult to overtake that big winner. And so I'm sure I'll discover a lot more interesting things like routing and sizing up and how to do that, how to manage those positions even more to get to the next level. But it's nuance, nuance, nuance. Okay, so some of the things that he's done is journal. He was really, really excited about it when we talked about it. He said, he's a self-proclaimed watcher of trash content. So he said like he'll go on YouTube and just look up anything trading related, whether it's some furu, just some random person or whatever it is. And, that kind of led him down this path of just exploring different ideas. And of course, these are not new ideas, but he was able to just pick up different things from random traders. And so one of the things is journaling. Obviously, that's not, you can find that anywhere. And that's one of the things that people really, really profess. And that's not the point. He was saying that when you journal at the end of the day, are you being honest? Like, is that what you were feeling at the moment? He found that a lot of times, like, at the end of the day, if you start journaling content, or you start journaling about your day, you start to, see things in a different light and report things in a different way. And so he started thinking about intraday journaling. And what intraday journaling is when he's in the trade, instead of at the end of the day, once he's out of a trade, he'll actually go ahead and think about and write down what are some of the emotions, some of the things that he felt. And he swore by this because he said that since he's been doing this, he's been having really, really, really good performance, and it's actually impacted his trading very much. How so? Well, he told me that this month, as he's been sizing up, he still runs into those same issues that we all have, is that, you get a little more aggressive sometimes because it's more money. You feel like you have to make it back, or you have to trade a certain way, and it was impacting his psychology. And he said that he actually was fighting a ticker for the first time in a while because of this. And he said that if he hadn't been intraday journaling beforehand, his losses on the day would have been 10x. And that was really, really interesting to me because it was not just about winners. It's more of like a risk management thing. And he was saying that usually he would have taken a massive hit in that situation, but not so because of the intraday journal. And the reason is because of the process of it. And this is kind of what he was describing to me. He said, while he was fighting the stock, he was realizing that he was trading really stupidly. And he noticed that, yeah, I did this before. This is what I do when I feel this way, when I feel like uncomfortable with my size. And then he went ahead and said, like, okay, now I know from studying my intraday journal that my reaction is that I risk more, I size more, and I lose more. And so what he did instead was he went and decided to just wait, started to clear his mind, let the stock settle down, and ultimately realized that he shouldn't be fighting it. And that, that alone saved him. And so if you just kind of take that process and apply it to your own needs, that might be something that would really help impact your journey. Okay, and so final words from this conversation. I liked a couple of quotes that he said, and I might be paraphrasing them a little bit, but I did write them down during our call. And he basically said this: nobody's there for you calling you out. Like in the NFL, one mistake and they call you out right away, right? You have coaches looking at you all the time as you're practicing, and they help you correct your form, or people will notice things, right? Teammates. But in trading, even being on a prop desk, like no one's standing behind you. Occasionally, someone's going to be there to be like, hey, do this, or you shouldn't be doing that. But for the most part, they're doing their own thing. And if you're a retail trader like me, there's absolutely nobody watching out for you. You could have your best bud on the phone or on Discord, you're just talking to them, but at the end of the day, you're responsible for yourself. Nuances. Fix those nuances to get to the next level. We went over that before, but it's just once you get to the point where you're, profitable, you're consistent, and you're working your way towards being that professional self, treating it like a business, nuances become what you need to do. It's the little things that get you to the next level. We went ahead and said, it's pain, pure pain. The truth comes out when you get punched in the face. And this is what he was saying to me when he was describing just grinding it out day in and day out for a year, not making a dime and just going for it and learning. And this kind of was where I was asking him, hey, how did you learn some of the things that you're telling me today? And he was like, just because I got owned, like I got destroyed, and I asked traders around me like, hey, I did this and I don't know what went wrong, or I feel like I did something wrong, can you tell me? And then they said, hey, next time try this. And so when he was in that situation again, he would just go ahead and try the new thing and see if it worked. And a lot of times it would. And so that's kind of one advantage of just being in this situation. We don't all have that, but ideally as traders, you can make some friends who are actually able to guide you a little bit. And, it's certainly true for myself as well. All right. And he also went to say, this is my journey, and there are people with better or worse journeys. So he's saying, essentially, it's all about you, being surrounded by so many awesome traders who he respects, who we all respect, and even just being in this environment where you're on social media and you see all these different traders who are saying like, hey, I'm making this much money, and just making you feel bad about yourself. Like, everybody is at a different stage. And if you think about kind of what we talked about with the first, second, third year, and that's just, of course that will be different for everybody. Of course, that's just a guideline where if you're just working really hard, you have luck on your side, you have the right mentorship, you have the right mindset, there's a lot of things that go into that. Of course, it's not going to be just 3 years for everybody. As long as you just kind of understand where you are in your own journey, the better off you are, and just focusing on yourself. Because, as traders, it serves us better to just think into the future. Where will I be in 10 years? Where do I want to be eventually? What person do I need to become? What kind of success do I need to model? And so I thought a lot of these things that he said were really wise, and I really liked it. So, that's all I really have here. Fortunately, I wasn't able to get him on the mic, but there's no way we would recreate that conversation again naturally. So I went ahead and just did this for you guys. Okay, all the links will be in the description, and hope you guys give him a follow at The Shorting Night on Twitter, and I'll put everything down below. All right, thank you so much.